Here, have you heard from Nancy? Oh, we gotta, we,
But don't anybody leave.
this will be quick tonight,
Here she comes.
I think. Oh, good work. You were right.
Here she comes. There goes the stealing. We pushed the clock back twice. Yeah, good evening, Nancy.
Never lost hope.
We got you.
I was dealing with an employment law issue in British Columbia. And so they're all still working. And I'm like, guys, I gotta go.
Time zones, time zones,
made it.
time zones.
Right. 38 degrees Fahrenheit on Sunday. How did that get that way?
He's being hacked.
Yeah. That would be Alaska. Maybe not even Alaska.
Haven't been outside a little bit.
That
Something might have happened.
got 85 there.
Oh, there you go. 85 and smoky. Perfect.
It is 6:30, and I am calling the Plainfield Charter Township Planning Commission to order. Just want to remind all of us up here to turn on our microphones, okay? First is approval of the agenda. Are there any changes from your end, Peter?
No changes on my part?
Anyone up here, subtract or add? Nope, okay, I'll take a motion at this time.
So moved.
Thank you, Robin, support?
Support.
I heard it, Jim first. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, thank you. Next is the approval of our meeting minutes, and that's, of course, with minor changes in grammar and syntax. And I'll take a motion at this time.
So moved.
Thank you, Jim. Support? I think I heard Dennis first. Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign? Okay, great. And you'll sign those on behalf of Brian?
It did, yes.
Okay,
thank you.
thank you. Next is public comments. Anyone wanting to make a comment regarding the township or whatever's on your mind, come on up, give us your name and address and make your comment. Nobody is running. Comments,
Ask the question, but we're not going to answer.
comments. Okay, I'm going to close that part of the meeting. Next is our agenda item, and it is a site plan review for 1303 Post Drive Mixed-Use Development. And Jim, would you read that application, please?
Well, certainly. Project name, Post Drive Mixed Use Development. Applicant Brandon Visser. Project address 1303 Post Drive. Permanent parcel number 41 10 08 400 009. Size of site approximately 3.2 acres. Zoning pending Township Board approval, PUD planned unit development. Project description and action requested of the Planning Commission to consider the site plan approval for mixed-use development consisting of a 7,200 square foot building with retail on the ground floor and second floor apartments with a 12-unit, 4,726 square foot apartment building and garages located toward the rear of the property.
Okay, thank you. And from the applicant, we have who? Tell us about your project.
My name is Brandon Visser, 4848 Walker in Comstock Park. Pete, are you able to pull that PowerPoint or switch that over? I'm plugged in. I'm not sure if it's registering or not. Yeah, that'll do it. All right, so we've been in here a couple times now and talked about this project. So back in May was our preliminary site plan review, and now we're here for the final, as mentioned. So this is that 3-acre site between Dollar General and the Citgo gas station. It's got an existing house on the site, so we would be removing that to build the new project. So this is it's just a copied photo of the final area site plan that was submitted. So it's just kind of blown up so we can see it a little better on the computer. Just some things to note again, as mentioned, commercial on the main floor, and then we're talking about 6 apartment units on the second floor of the building. This would have a drive-through option, but we're shooting for more of a low to medium impact type drive-through, not anything crazy. We've added, as advised at one of the last meetings, a bigger radius on the drive-through so we can fit emergency vehicles around that even while they're stacking. There's a truck route that goes through there for supplying that retail building from the back, and you can see that hashed out area for the loading zone. So we just tried to bring everything together on this plan from the last one, and just make sure everything was addressed and we didn't miss anything. It's got 2 dumpster enclosures, one for the front building, one for the rear, back behind the garages. Per the fire department's suggestion, we moved that the dumpster enclosure from that furthest northeast corner, if you can, to the right side of the unattached garages is a gray box. That was moved from being up in the front towards the back so that, again, the fire truck could use that T turnaround more effectively, and he said that would be acceptable. So we just did a couple critiquing and a couple fine tuning of this. That's the description of the property, parking spaces. We're just over, I think, from what would be required, so 62 spaces for the mixed use and 26 for the multifamily. We got 1 sign out by the road that would be depicted in that exhibit on the plan. So that would serve both the retail and the apartments above and in the back. Grading and stormwater plan. So you can see our various stormwater collection structures with the green indicating those routes. It's all going back to an on-site detention pond that meets the requirements for the 100-year storm flood. So we were able to meet all the capacities for that. Other than that, there's not a lot that's changed from the last version. Landscaping plans, so calling out the species of the trees, we have a combination of deciduous and evergreen trees, as well as shrubs up by the buildings. The black perimeter boxes on that plan with the arrows going to them are, for the most part, the code or ordinance requirements. So that just kind of helps make it really easy to determine where we're providing ordinance compliance for landscaping. Putting some buffering between the drive-through and that Dollar General. It's just as important for us as it is for them. So we really didn't hold back on making sure everything had proper screening. Other than that, just a couple renderings you've already seen before, just to remind you what the building kind of looks like. The back building with the 2 front doors, and then the garage, unattached garages across the way there. And that is all I have for new information. So if you have any questions, be happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you. Peter, let's start with you. Anything you want to add?
Well, Brandon did a great job summarizing it for the most part. I do want to note, we have 5 conditions of approval. Most of those are the standard conditions of approval, but I do want to draw out, I'll just describe them briefly. The first one is staff, because it's not specifically spelled out in the PUD or on the site plan, staff is recommending that we go with the C1 standard commercial sign standards or ordinance requirements. They are consistent with the surrounding properties, so there's no disadvantage, and it's, they can come in, it's easy to take care of when somebody comes in for a permit. The next one is this is kind of pretty much customary, but the township engineer did call it out in his staff report. He wants water and sewer easements that go through the property. You know, we have customary standard documents for that and everything like that, so it's not unusual, but since he called it out there, I wanted to make sure it got into the regular conditions. I have one or two small minor tweaks in landscaping I want to see. It may require a quick site visit, in particular just behind the garages as they face the mobile home park to the east. And then pretty standard at this point is a photometric plan. As we get through development, we like, when they come in for their building permits, we like to get a photometric plan. Typically don't like to see it in this part because so much changes from time to time with that layout in terms of the lighting. In this case, and I did talk to Brandon, I think we're gonna do everything at one time rather than two different phases on this project. Next is kind of a common condition we get for key boxes for the fire department. That's their standard emergency access. And then the last one in the biggie is this is still going to the board for township board approval of the rezone. We've done this in the past, where staff was comfortable doing it based on the discussions we've had previously and the public discourse we've had. But essentially, we're saying this approval is subject to the board approving the PUD amendment in August. If you have any questions or concerns about that, please let me know. Beyond that, that's all I really have. We have made the applicant aware of this. He's aware of it and reasonably comfortable with it. That's about it.
Thank you. We'll turn it back up to commissioners up here. Robin, any questions or comments?
I have no questions.
Thank you. Dennis?
I have a couple of questions. In the upper right-hand side for the parcel, there's a to be sold, and the previous time you were in here, there was nothing said about that. Before that, when it was brought up by Excel, it was to be an easement. So could you just update us on the?
Yeah, so that was kind of in combination with the cross-access discussion with the mobile home park, is we have effectively no use. It's really steep grade back there, and it's just kind of an obscure property line with that point going out. And it almost goes all the way up to his access road for, in the neighborhood there. So we said that we'd have no problem just doing a legal description to kind of straighten those property lines out.
Peter, does that change the overall acreage?
It will change the overall acreage of the project. That will not be a significant concern. These are both two PUDs, and we do have language in the PUD chapter that allows for the minor transference of small parcels like that, what's intended to do. And I do recall back in the day, we had discussed this with either Wally Bukowski or prior to that, in part because the mobile home park has been using this property from my recollection for the last 35 years anyways, so.
Then my other question is that on the unique sign thing, on the staff memo, you cite 31.09, and the drawings say 31.05. Is that like a typo, or is there citing two different?
I did bring the zoning ordinance, so I'll double check that I didn't make a typo on myself, but it should be 3109, I believe.
Okay, that's all I had.
Okay, Jack?
I was going to ask the question on lot size because our materials say 3.2 and your presentation it says 3.35, so that answers that question. Dan, I remember you coming in front of the board for your first liquor license for Flows, and you were successful at that, and I believe that you added value to the township, and I'm trusting that this project will do the same.
Jim?
I have nothing here, thank you.
Nancy?
Nope, I'm all good.
All right, thank you. We have some conditions. Jim, would you read those, please?
Conditions to be part of the motion. Number one, signs shall be consistent with the zoning requirements of section 31.09. Commercial signs. Number two, the applicant shall submit a revised landscaping plan and photometric plan for approval by the Community Development Department. Number three, the applicant shall provide easements for sanitary sewer and public water for approval by the Community Development Department. Number 4, the applicant shall provide a key box on each structure subject to approval of the Township Fire Department. And number 5, this site plan approval is subject to the Township approving the 1303 Post Drive PUD Development Rezone request.
Thank you. Any discussion regarding these conditions? Any additions, subtractions? Okay, thank you. I'll take a motion at this time.
I would move.
That we approve the site plan approval?
With the conditions as stipulated.
Okay, and that would be for a 7,200 square foot retail building with second floor apartments, a 4,726 square foot three-story apartment building, and a 4,320 square foot multi-unit garage structure with related parking and infrastructure. And I'll take a second on that motion. Thank you, Robin. Any further discussion? No? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. All right. There's that. We got last condition hanging over your head.
Thank you.
Welcome, thank you. Next is staff comments. Comments, Peter?
Oh, I do. I've been saving them up for a month. Just kidding.
Oh, boy.
Just want to give you a heads up. We met with Suzanne last week. We discussed about a little different approach to our next upcoming workshop, which will likely be the regularly scheduled August meeting. Okay, we do not anticipate having anything but perhaps one site plan on that agenda at this point in time, so we should have the time available. But rather than try to push a whole bunch of stuff, because we're going to be talking about land use, put a whole lot of stuff into one meeting and making it extra long, we thought we'd split it up to 2 meetings, perhaps regular staff, the regular planning commission meetings, to talk about land use. And then prior to that, rather than going through articles and activities, we would send them out to you previously. We'd feed you an article or 2 a week up into the meeting, and then we would send you an activity that you could do at your leisure, or not, if you're not, but it would be essentially one of those activities that charrette type of things. And then you'd be able to discuss it at the meeting, and we wouldn't have to go through, we can shorten our meetings is essentially what we're trying to do. So we just thought that would be a great idea, and if you have any opposition to it, let me know, but that's the plan, and so just gonna give you a heads up.
Anything else?
That's it.
All right, next is planning commission comments. Do we have any? Jack?
I have nothing, Marie.
Thank you, Dennis. Robin? Jim?
I have a question, mining status. Haven't heard much in a long while about status of our Boulder Creek project and the Coit projects in terms of timelines and performance.
I'll start with the Coit one. We did a aerial survey of the property. I got the results back maybe a month ago. So we have a baseline, and essentially they have until whatever we established, I can't remember offhand, whatever deadline we gave them within a year to report back to us. So for our purposes right now, it's moving along as it should be. Okay. Boulder Creek, we met with them about 2 weeks ago to get an update on that particular project. They're moving forward. Of course, there are some litigation challenges with the state Department of Environment, Department of Environment, Great Lakes and Energy at this point with Eagle. So that will ultimately slow down the development of that overall project. At some point in the future, we do expect to see them come in and have to amend the PUD, but we won't know when that happens. That said, they will be coming in for final plat approval of Boulder View West Phase 1, and the board will see that probably in the next couple months. They're working out some issues with the King County Drain Commission at this point in time. We did talk to them about the open space that's on there that's not been seeded at this point, but because it's so low, they've had it reviewed by Eagle as well as the King County Road Commission. They have been advised that it meets the requirements for soil erosion, but we did make them aware if we do have questions about sediment being blown out of the site that they'll have to address it. One of the things is holding up them finalizing it again as Eagle and being able to permit the work. And of course, without that big lake in there, the design has to change significantly.
Advisory group still meeting on that project?
No, I'm not, maybe informally some of them are, but I'm not aware of the meeting anymore.
We've not been posted on any meetings of the advisory group.
Is something you would like to start up again, or?
That's a good question. Our residents at the preserve would like to know more, obviously, because there is dust blowing around and there is noise and traffic and whatnot.
Let me, I'll broach the idea to James. I don't know why they would be just not agreeable to doing something.
They said in the last communication that they were going to end that.
They are, and it may not be the formal process established there, but I don't know why they can't communicate. It's to everybody's benefit to communicate something. I have asked them for a brief narrative, updating where they're at for public consumption, so.
Piles are still there.
Yeah, although that's the material that has to be re-leveled to level out the site, but until they can get the permitting from Eagle, there's no.
They're completing finished grading on phase one.
Yes.
The road is going in pretty quickly.
And you will see once that phase one is complete, you'll see some improvement on what's going on in terms of the dust and that. Yep. Wonderful.
There is the adjournment next. This gentleman has questions. We're not set up for questions, but Peter, are you willing to chat with him and see if you can help him?
Absolutely, not a problem.
So, sir, we just do comments. We're a limited liability corporation up here. And with that, we're adjourned.
I like that.
Yeah.
We're an LLC.
We're an LLC. And Peter is our spokesperson.